Metroid Other M is the most experimental and ambitious game in the Metroid saga. Veteran producer Yoshio Sakamoto and Team Ninja re-envisioned the classic side-scrolling Metroid formula as a cinematic action game with a heavy narrative focus. With such a high production value, Other M doesn't struggle to grab attention, though being so distinct from the rest of the series has sure left many a fan confused as to what exactly to make of it. So what went on behind the scenes of Metroid's biggest production to date? Here at Shinesparkers, we've had many wonderful opportunities to talk to all branches of staff involved with the inner workings of our favourite Metroid games. So today, let us share with you 7 facts that we learned from some of the creators behind Metroid Other M. Other M was so top secret, even Samus's voice actress didn't know anything. Video game production has a lot of moving parts, from facets like programming on one end to marketing and voice acting on the other. Controlling the who knows what is vital for a game as big as Metroid Other M, and therefore even Samus herself, Jessica Martin, was not privy to many details of the game's narrative unless absolutely necessary for her performance. However, Martin was far from the only one operating under a strict need-to-know basis. Other M's beloved Past is Prologue commercial centers around the events of Samus's history, but this was partially by necessity, as not even the team behind its creation knew what the game was really about. They had to conceive of ideas that could work under that limitation, and this approach was what they went with, although it wasn't the only one they considered. Past is Prologue had several alternate concepts. Micky Coyne is a longtime fan of the Metroid saga who landed the dream opportunity to storyboard a high-quality advertisement for its latest entry. Showing Samus Aran's past made the most sense given the plot's secrecy, and could also serve to catch the audience up on her obscured origins. However, even more scenes were devised beyond the ones that we see in the final piece, including Ridley attacking and killing Samus's parents, and her training with the Trozo as a young girl. Another more comedic concept for the ad followed a space pirate's life, starting from infancy, through military training, and finishing with his deployment on the battlefield, only to be immediately gunned down by Samus. Coyne also created a rendition of Eye of the Tiger for another concept that saw Samus weakened and muddied from a long battle, only to find the strength within her to get back up and succeed. The final product is now a popular part of Other M's identity. But who played this iconic live-action iteration of the Huntress? Samus was played by a Czech teacher. For years it was a total mystery whose face we were seeing for this iteration of Samus Aran. However, Shinesparkers were determined to track down the actress behind this decade-old piece of Metroid iconography. Lenka Volfová is a former teacher from the Czech Republic who currently works in education policy. Shortly after beginning a career in modelling in 2009, Volfová auditioned in a role available in Prague. The part was for none other than Samus, and after a long and scrutinous process, she landed her first major role in advertising. The locations seen in Past is Prologue were filmed all around the city. The remains of Soviet-era factories, local caves, and roofs of shopping malls were all used to bring the world of Metroid to life. Volfová is the Samus we see on screen, but the voice heard is still that of Jessica Martin's, and that came with a rather bizarre problem. Samus cannot break character even for legal requirements. Nintendo is very protective of their IP, especially their characters. When the notes came back for Past is Prologue, they were generally happy with Martin's voiceover, except for one sticking point. North American trailers must verbally state the game's rating according to advertising guidelines. When Nintendo heard the voice of Samus saying this, they were not happy with her breaking character. As this feedback came in at the very last minute, the team behind the commercial were put into a difficult position and tried to come up with solutions on the spot. So they explained to Nintendo that their only options were either to get Micky Coyne to do it, or to hire a voice actor for $40,000. Nintendo reconsidered and made an exception to the rule for this trailer. Jessica Martin's voice as Samus was then heard all around the United States, and it managed to find its way to 2 people in particular. The parents of Samus's voice actress bought a Wii for Other M. Jessica Martin did not grow up with video games at all. In fact, she and her parents never had any gaming consoles in the house. However, many years later, her parents were walking by a gaming store when they happened to hear Jessica's voice, and excitedly entered the shop to tell the staff that the woman heard in the advert was none other than their daughter. This landmark moment in her career led them to purchase their first ever video game console, a Nintendo Wii. Martin played the game herself too, but without much experience with the medium, found it too hard to progress. Instead, she watched her friend play through the game from start to finish. Speaking of voice actors, Nintendo's localization manager felt nervous to voice his character. Many may know Nate Bihldorff as the localization manager at Nintendo of America, but he's also been a voice actor for a handful of small roles in Nintendo games. Bihldorff is the voice you'll hear if you ever play as Shy Guy in the Mario spin-offs, or if you ever play Salvatore's minigame in The Wind Waker.
Splish! Boom!
For Other M, he landed the role of the head quarantine officer at the beginning of the game. Since this meant speaking full lines, Bihldorff felt nervous for the role, worrying he sounded too awkward and nerdy. But it turns out that's exactly what director Yoshio Sakamoto was going for, and he was well pleased with the performance. Sakamoto made the team feel at ease. Nate Bihldorff also spoke to us of just how encouraging a director Yoshio Sakamoto was for everyone when he came over to direct the voice acting team. In fact, it appears to have been a running theme for the production of Metroid Other M. Despite the project's huge scale and experimental nature, the sheer passion behind the curtain left many team members from across its production feeling positive coming out of their time spent on its creation. Every team member we spoke with expressed their pride from having worked on such a project. And so they should! Metroid Other M is the Wii's biggest game for file size, with some of the highest level of polish on the system. Samus would go on to use this design in 2 Smash Bros. Entries, and she carried her more acrobatic combat style to the following 2D Metroid titles too. And while Other M was the first Metroid game in which we heard Samus speak, it wouldn't be the last. Go to the Shinesparkers website below to read and hear our full conversations with these amazing developers.
It's kind of hard for television and film to have dream roles because...
And subscribe to the channel for more Shinesparkers Archives and other Metroid content.